It's showtime, baby. Let's go. Woo!
To the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Trunipple, and as always, I bring you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of some of the best barbecue around.
Midwest best, baby. They got Uno wings. They got G-Funk. They got CTB wings. They got delicious chili. Dude, it is awesome. Go check out Midwest Best.
So I highly recommend Midwest Best for your Super Bowl party this weekend. Get you some Uno wings, get you some CTB wings, get some ribs. It's going to be delicious, I guarantee it. What's up to everybody watching the show? Do me a favor, if you found the show, hit that like and subscribe button, smash that thumbs up. I am live streaming on ZTV, YouTube, Facebook, X, Rumble. If you're listening to me on the podcast, what's up? It's on BPod, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure you rate, like, and review. And as always, I'm coming to you live from this glorious place down here. It's the Ice Cave. The Ice Cave is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out the website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. And you know what? 1 year from now, we are going to be getting ready to watch Jackpot Joey and the Bengals in the freaking Super Bowl. Call my shot. We're going. It's going to be in New Orleans. Joey's going to be there. He's going to be nice and healthy. He's going to be great. So, what you need to do is support him and his foundation. Go to jackpotjoey9.com, buy some of the merchandise, because portion of the proceeds go to the Joe Burrow Foundation. And you know we got the best quarterback in the league. What's up to everybody in the chat? It is blowing up on a Friday. Not really. It's kind of sporadic right now. But anyway, what's up, stranger? Paul's in there. Brad's in there. What is going on, boys? Welcome to the show. All right, well, before we get into the big topic I want to get to, I do have some news here. The Cincinnati Reds, they signed Jonathan India to, pop it up here, to a 2-year contract extension, avoiding arbitration. So, for all the people who wanted Jonathan India traded, this kind of puts an ixnay on that. But, I mean, it also helps out that to avoid arbitration, because arbitration is never a good thing, because all it does is you have to tell the player everything's bad about him and all that stuff. So we got Jonathan India back. Will they trade somebody? I have no idea. It doesn't look like it, but spring training is right around the corner. Let's get to this. All right, last night we had the NFL awards show, and the Bengals got screwed. All right, I'll just put it out there. I know Willie said, let's be understandable and all this. Bullshit. Willie should have been in there. Willie should have been in there last year. Willie should have been in there 2 years ago. It is an absolute travesty that Willie is not in there. Yeah, I know. He finished 7th. Woo! He should have been in. Yes, I'm not saying these guys don't deserve it. Yeah, they should deserve it. We need more than 2 guys in. He needs to be in. We got to get this guy right behind me, Corey Dillon, in. Both of them need to be in there. Like, now. It's ridiculous. I'm ticked off about it. When did they win the Man of the Year? They went to a Steeler. Like, oh my God, it's just so frustrating. But yeah, I think somebody else might be a little frustrated with it too. Let's get to the Godfather, Anthony Cosenza. What's going on, AC?
So I got some tea. Look, I got some tea. I was feeling a little. I'm like, man, it's been a long week. It's Friday afternoon. I need some caffeine. And then the intro music. I'm sitting here going like, yeah, just rocking out. Really gets you. Yeah, you were talking about breeding anger. I mean, that got me going there.
Dude, I'm
yeah,
pissed.
I'm doing all right, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm pissed. I'm mad. This is ridiculous. I don't understand. Like, all right. So let's get to the point here. Do the NFL owners or writers or whoever's in charge of all of him, do they just not like Mike Brown? I mean, I don't know what else it is, dude. Why can't we get Willie in? Why can't we get Corey in? I mean, Corey's not even scratching the surface yet. Willie's at least getting close. But is there something like why does 300,000 Steelers get in there and they win the Man of the Year? Well, you know, I don't get it. And that's kind of where I'm to the point of there's got to be some other reason that we can't get our players in.
I think so. There are so many things about this. If you look back, a lot of the voters that have been voting traditionally on this, you know, and I paint with a broad brush in saying this, but a lot of the voters that vote on this, they are guys who grew up in an era where the 4 or 5 teams that were always televised were the Raiders, the Steelers, the Cowboys. I mean, I'm probably missing a couple of others, but there are a handful of teams. The Packers probably. Yeah. I mean, there's 4 or 5 teams, and those 4 or 5 teams won a hell of a lot of Super Bowls in the 70s, the 80s, and so they just have this affinity for when there is a high-producing player and a player that's got a lot of Pro Bowlers that comes from the pedigree of those teams, they kind of get a little preferential treatment. Whereas a team like the Bengals, who have not won a Super Bowl, who do not have true dynasties, so to speak, they've got like kind of mini dynasties here and there. They kind of just go, oh, it's a Bengals player. And then you look at a Bengals player who played in the late 90s and early 2000s, and you go, I just from sitting here, it's not like I commend them for this line of thinking. I think it's just that's just the way it is, unfortunately. And there are a lot of longtime reporters and voters and who have covered the Cincinnati Bengals for a long time, and they have this preconceived notion of the Bengals. They have this they've been around the Bengals for such a long time, and there's been a lack of success. And it is what it is. Maybe the owner and the ownership group has not ingratiated themselves as close to and been in front of the cameras like a Jerry Jones and all kinds of others. So they just don't get the attention. And, you know, I had the great opportunity to speak with Ken Anderson this week, and I tried not to talk about his own Hall of Fame situation. It's a joke. Yeah.
He should have been in. Dan Fouts got in 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean he's talks about, you know, Willie getting in and all, and I just, you know, I kind of feel bad for these guys, and he kind of noted, you know, unfortunately it's a little bit of a byproduct of some of the teams they played on. But I would be interested. Did you ask Corey about what he thought about Willie getting in?
Well, yeah, he thinks he deserves to be in, and we were talking last night. We were both irritated about it. I called him last night, and we were both extremely upset, and that's where we're like, there's got to be something else. And the thing where you bring up, you know, the teams that Willie and Corey played on, to me, the numbers they put up should boost them even more because of the crappy teams they played on. You know, I mean, it's easier to have big numbers and all that stuff when you're winning, but when you're getting your head kicked in almost all the time, and you still rose above that and played to the best of your ability every single week, I think that bodes even more for your Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah, I mean, I said this on our show here. I mean, we've talked, and I know you guys have done a great job of highlighting Corey Dillon and getting his rightful due in both Bengals circles and also, you know, in national level circles as well. I mean, he's got obviously a resume that puts him in the Ring of Honor, right? He'll get in there. There's not a doubt about it. It's a matter of when.
He's getting in. He better get in next year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll probably be next year. But
I hope so.
He's got that resume. There are a lot of things. That's a guy who had 2 historical single game performances on teams that were largely horrendous. Mm-hmm. And he was the focal point of their offense from, you know, whatever, 90. When you look at who the quarterbacks were in 98 through 2001, 2002, you go, holy crap, what is happening there?
Right.
So, you know, you go with that mindset, and you go, well, okay, Corey Dillon, a lot of great individual performances, statistical performances, some of the best numbers in franchise history, career-wise, single season-wise. Who was one of the focal figures that wasn't getting the fanfare, but was incredibly important for those historical performances? Who was the guy that was here that was paving the way for the historical performances of Rudy Johnson on the ground? Who was the guy that was blocking in some of the best passing offenses that this team has ever seen? And the league really saw when Carson Palmer was at his prime. The mainstay is Willie Anderson.
Yep.
And because he didn't get these arbitrary Pro Bowls because of left tackles only and all kinds of different stuff back in the day, now you unfortunately, that's the stuff that people who gloss over stats and look at the Bengals on a very surface level, they go, oh, well, 4 Pro Bowls. Well, Baselli had 6, or I don't even know what it was offhand. Well, Baselli also had his career cut very short because he had a lot of injuries. And I love Tony Baselli, USC guy. I'm all for him. But you look at Willie Anderson, durable, high performer, and the guys who played behind him and with him had great individual single season and career performances because of what he did. Right. And so it takes a deeper dive. And unfortunately, some of these voters, I don't think do that.
And that goes back to what Paul Dannard said on the show this week with Corey, that some of these guys we need to get them out. I mean, because or we need to expand it more for if you've been covering a team or whatever for 10 years or something, you deserve to have a vote. There needs to be more voices, more people in there saying, all right, well, what about this guy? Or what about this guy? Just more, because you can have the same guys, because Dannard and Hobson, they put numbers together and they go every year, and Hobson goes there and fights for Willie and fights for Corey, and it keeps falling on deaf ears because you keep talking to the same damn people. So it's like, maybe you should expand this to have some younger guys in, some other people in, to try to loosen this up a little bit, because you can't have the same freaking teams get in every year. And I don't want to hear this, and I always go this for Willie. I don't want to hear this that he played on bad teams. Joe Thomas got in last year on the very first try. I know he's a left tackle. Joe was a right. The Browns were awful his entire career, Mm-hmm. I think what helped him is he got a cushy NFL Network job, and he kept his name out there. I think that's the reason he got in. So that's where I'm like, I don't want to hear this. Well, they didn't win so much. Well, Joe Thomas didn't win shit, and Willie, and he got in first try.
Right, but I mean, Joe Thomas was a fantastic football player. But the thing that helped him too.
No, don't temper. I'm not saying
was he number 1 overall pick, number 2 overall pick, right?
2 or 3, yeah.
I mean, he was in the top 5. Right.
Yeah.
So being a top, now Willie was a first round pick, obviously, but he was in the mid first rounds. And so sometimes when you even have that draft status, being a top 5 pick, a number 1 overall pick, that sort of thing, that's the kind of stuff. Oh, well, that's a franchise player. And when they're making the Pro Bowls, and that also goes into fan voting, which goes into the Pro Bowl voting and all of that. It's a piece of that pie. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, draft status plays into it. I'm in agreement with you that there needs to be maybe some new voices in the room whenever that may or may not occur. I think there is yourself, myself. I mean, I don't necessarily ascribe to PFF and other analytics as absolute scripture, but I mean, it is helpful and very, very helpful, metrics to look at in terms of player performance. And, people do more film review, and there's people understand some certain dynamics of the league and where it was and where it is now. And I think that, like I said, some of these voters are a little bit set in their ways. It is an uphill climb. I mean, you got names in there, Dwight Freeney, and there are other names who got.
And this is not
there are other guys too.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that got in, they all deserve it. It's just frustrating that there's so many guys that deserve it. It's just frustrating because our guys should have already gotten in. That's the point of this thing, and that's where I get frustrated. And like you're saying, your draft status. I mean, in the Super Bowl, we got Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. I mean, how long is he going to be called that? If he wins the Super Bowl, is he going to be still Mr. Irrelevant? They still going to be talking about him being the last drafted quarterback? I mean, is that going to hold him back? Which, I mean, it didn't hurt Tom Brady, but how many times do we hear he was a 6th-round pick? I mean, we still hear about that. So that draft status stays with you no matter what you do.
Good or bad.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. All right, let's get into some conversation here. Paul, my boy Paul here wants to know. He says, all right, we pretty much know that T is going to be tagged. Am I right in saying that the Bengals can't trade him till he signs his tag?
Ooh, that's an
I don't know. I've had this conversation before where I think if they tag and trade him, what would happen is they tag him, and then they would give the opportunity to his agent to negotiate with whatever team they agreed to trade with to try to get an extension. I think that might be the thing that would, if you tag him, trade him. That's most times people aren't going to trade for a tagged guy for 1 year. You're going to want an extension. Now, if they can trade him before he's tagged, that I don't know. And AC's looking it up, which I mean, again.
So yeah, so I'm seeing this on. I think this is on CBSSports.com. I want to make sure I credit the right. Just a brief search. Can teams trade a franchise or transition player? Yes, they can be traded. It says, however, players with unsigned tenders can't be traded until signed. And that was of March 9th, as of March 9th last year, it looks like. So that was kind of my gut feeling on, honestly, there's a lot of different things rattling on in my brain right now. I couldn't remember that offhand, but it makes sense to me that they would, there maybe as a signed type of agreement. And then they,
right.
I think then there's kind of a handshake agreement that they get to trade, but I'll look more into that. That's a very good question.
I mean, I don't know any team that would trade for a guy I think that I would assume the tag would transfer over that, you still, which I wonder if that's interesting.
Well, I think the idea is you would trade a guy that's on the tag, and the idea is the teams kind of have, and the player and the agent and everybody has this handshake agreement. Okay, you've got this tagged player. We're going to trade you over here, but we're trading you over here because this team is willing to sign you to a long-term deal, whereas we are not. And that's why the trade would take place anyway, because the team would want a player long-term as opposed to not. So I think that's kind of the dynamics with it.
Yeah, my thing with T, I keep talking about this, is I think they're going to tag him. I don't think they're going to be able to negotiate a contract, not because of T, but because of David Mulligetta. And one thing that I'm hoping T realizes is go talk to TJ Hushmanzada about how his basic career went downhill after he left the Bengals. It's nice to get the bag, and I'm not saying take a huge discount or anything like that, but if he takes a little less or whatever works in the structure so we can keep the core guys together and he stays here, it's much better catching passes from Joe Burrow than it is from whoever they got in Tennessee. So that's one thing, that the caveat that I always kind of hope T keeps in the back of his mind, that he's not just going for the money, because AC, I've said this before, he could go to I keep saying Tennessee, that's his hometown team. And Brian Callahan's like the head coach there. Just say the Titans trade for him, and T doesn't have as good a year, and people start souring on him and say, he's not good as we thought. All that big contract could go away because they can cut him. And that's the thing I hope that they are considering of not only the money but the situation that they're in.
There are so many facets to say. I want to. You make a really good point about the TJ Hushmanzada thing. I will say this: there's a little bit of a difference. Hush left the Bengals after spending 8 years with them,
right. Mm-hmm.
And I think when he entered the league, he was older. If I'd have to look that up, I think he was maybe a year or two older than when T came into the league. So there's an age/experience dynamic that is a little bit of a difference there. But we've seen this from a lot of different Bengals receivers, right? They think that you can go back to Pickens, same thing. He was a stud with the Bengals, and then grass isn't always greener on the Chad towards the end of his career, and all of that. I mean, grass isn't always greener when you leave a situation where you're getting fed the ball a lot.
Yeah,
and
right.
I know a lot of people have this tunnel vision of, man, tag and play on 1 year is too expensive and it doesn't make sense, and I get that, but I think people are looking at this year and they go, oh man, the stats were way down and this just doesn't make sense for a guy like this. He was injured a lot. Look at the previous 3 seasons though. It's pretty standard production across the board. It's about 1,000 yards. It's 7 or 8 touchdowns. I mean, it's there. He misses a game or two on average, especially in those 3 seasons. But I mean, it's the production is there for the most part, and what you can expect was there. I would say this last year was more the outlier than the trend going forward. And to me, I understand it, and it's not my money, so I mean, I can be a little more freewheeling with it. Right. Yeah. I can be a little more freewheeling with it, but to me, if we're sitting here, like you said, a year from now, and the Bengals are in the Super Bowl, they win the Super Bowl, and T played on a 1-year tag, and you spent a hell of a lot of money on him, but he was a contributor to a season like that, would you really care? Would you really care?
Nope.
I mean, honestly.
Nope.
So, yeah, you can kind of say, well, maybe that puts you in a hole like the Rams or something after they won the Super Bowl. Who cares?
Right.
Who cares?
Exactly.
And he wants to be here. He works well with Joe. He gets along great with Jamar. And, oh, by the way, if you're looking to just, we got to get what we can for him or whatever, you're also looking at a season where you may lose Tyler Boyd out of that wide receiver room. So if you lose Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins in the same offseason, that is a bad deal. Just look at what happened to the safeties this last year for the Bengals.
Exactly.
I don't know. I wouldn't be comfortable with losing him, even if it is a non-preferential 1-year type of rental situation for him.
Right, exactly. Now, my son here, Chandler, he says, I think he's overvalued in the market. Bengals need to make a money ball decision and sell high. Now, the thought process with that is that's what the Chiefs did with Tyreek Hill. But to your point, they didn't lose Travis Kelce. They kept him. Now, we still have Chase, of course, but you go from 3 really good wide receivers to 1 really good wide receiver and a whole bunch of okay people. And I mean, I still think Joe Burrow can work with that. I do. But when you have these elite guys, man, they're game changers. I mean, him and T are game changers. What they can do, not many people can do. I mean, T's height, his speed. I mean, just look at the touchdown he got in the Vikings game. I mean, where he swung the ball backwards and scored a touchdown. I mean, most wide receivers can't make that play. I mean, I would have ripped every back muscle in my back trying to do that. But he's done that. So I mean, but that is one of the thoughts here is like, well, the Chiefs, they went and they traded Tyreek Hill, and look, they went on to win 1 Super Bowl and possibly, hopefully, God not, but possibly another one. So that's the other thing is like if you do, and AC with this, if you trade T and you get, say, I mean, I'm not trading T unless I'm getting at least a 2nd-round pick, hopefully a 1st-round pick. But if you trade him and you can add that, you can get another wide receiver because the Bengals are actually pretty good at drafting wide receivers. They've done very well in 1st, 2nd, throughout the draft. They'll find, and this is a very good draft. So that's another thing you put it into too to think about is if you trade him, you get a draft pick, you save this money, you can put it all toward Jamar, and you can go draft 1 or 2 wide receivers in the draft, and hopefully you hit on them.
I'm going to preface this by saying I love the Treniples. I love them. Okay, all of the Treniples. They are all great people, and I understand.
Not agree with them.
No. So there is like I said, there's a side of this argument where you go, of course, that's the side that makes logical sense. That's the side that makes financial sense. There's a lot there. I am curious about what he is valued at in the market right now. I think a lot of us say, oh, his price is really high. We can get a lot for him. I don't know. I don't know that every team looks at it the way I just did a minute ago when I said, look at the previous 3 years production and the standards across there. And they kind of look at this one and go, oh man, what a mess. You also look at this and you go, okay, T didn't contribute statistically anywhere near what it's almost just over half really in terms of yardage. And I don't remember touchdowns offhand, but essentially yardage was basically like kind of cut in half, and touchdowns, it was a dip, and a pretty sizable dip in production. You also had, oh, by the way, Joe Burrow not healthy for half the season. And down the stretch, the Bengals were still in it, even with a subpar T. Higgins season, to make the playoffs. Yep. And he was a big reason in some of those games the stretch as to why they were alive. So I think, everybody's kind of getting into this Madden franchise mode a little bit where they're like, let's deal and we can get high picks and this and that. That's not always how it works.
Right.
And while he may or may not be a one on another, in the draft or another avenue or whatever, but I don't know. I'm a proponent that even if it's for a year, even though it may not make a lot of financial sense, I think there is a very good rapport built within when Burrow's healthy, when Chase is full go, and T is full go. That's a hard offense to defend. And there are questions, there are risks, obviously, and I get that. I get the other side of the argument where you want to maybe get what you can, let the market dictate that, and maybe because you are confident in how you drafted receivers, you think you can do it again. I get all of that, but we've seen that also backfire on them. Hey, let's let Zeitler and Whitworth walk and do a Boyhe and Fisher, and let's, there's stuff where it sets your franchise back sometimes a lot of years if you miss, and the Bengals cannot afford to miss in the draft this year, regardless of what happens with T. Higgins.
Exactly, and for the record, I'm just arguing both sides, but I am with you. I want to sign T. I'll take the franchise tag 1 year deal. I'm hoping he'll stay, but I want to run it back at least one more year. Hopefully, end this thing with Lombardi. Now, speaking of the draft, and my other concern, a big concern for me is the right tackle position. I don't think they're going to re-sign Jonah, but. Have you been watching or paying attention to
Jermaine E?
Yeah,
Jermaine E.
Jermaine Illuminor? I mean, he's been posting a lot of stuff. Like, dude, you sound like a Bengal. I mean, he's even went out defended Willie last night on Twitter. I'm like, am I reading the tea leaves right? Because I mean, I thought last year me and Dale talked about, and Dale made this elite edit of him within a Bengals uniform, but talked about him being the right tackle for the Bengals last year. He's talking a lot like it sounds like he wants to come here. So Anthony, I'm saying sign him for a 1 year contract. Go draft one of the right tackles because I think there's going to be one there at 18 we can get. You let him sit behind Illuminor for a year or two and then bring him in. But that's kind of where I'm at with this draft. I mean, Illuminor sounds pretty good.
I am in agreement with you, and I do like, by the way, again, I love me some Trenopol's, and Chandler's follow-up comment was a good one there about market value. So with you on that one, but like I love that mindset, and I think that would play well into potentially being able to make the T franchise tag situation more palatable financially if you went that route. I don't know what Jonah's going to ask for. I don't know what he's going to get. I don't know.
I mean, he can ask for a lot because he can play left and right tackle. He's proven it. So,
yeah, I mean, is this going to be like a deal what Juwan Taylor signed last year with the Chiefs type of thing? I mean, I guess you would say maybe Juwan is a little bit of a superior player there, but I mean, that's kind of, there's similar level type of players. And again, right, left tackle, that sort of thing, like you mentioned. So there's going to be a team that'll pay for him. I don't know that it's going to be the Bengals, and I know that's going to probably rub people the wrong way, whether that's people close to the team or not close to the team, because they look at it and they go, well, what's been the big issue with the Bengals offensive line, right? Mm-hmm. And so finally you kind of feel like you stabilized some things on the right side with Jonah Williams. But I'm with you, Jermaine E. I don't want to mispronounce his last name.
Is it Illuminor? And how you say it?
Illuminor, probably. Yeah.
We started calling him. Me and Dale started calling him Illuminati last year, but I think it's
Illuminati. Yeah. I like that, and I like the route of drafting a right tackle. I like Jonah Williams, but here's the deal, man. You're still having problems with Myles Garrett. You're still having problems on the right side with T.J. Watt. And granted, they're going to get theirs because they are immensely good football players.
Yeah, one of them just won the defensive player of the year, and the other one finished second. So yeah,
right. So I mean, they're gonna get there, but you got to have some sort of you can't let Watt have 2-3 sacks a game, a forced fumble. You just can't. I mean, a sack here, maybe one game he dominates and one game he kind of. You keep him at bay a little bit. Is that too much to ask? Yeah. I mean, is that too much to ask?
Just sit this out, TJ.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that when you look at it that way, maybe that makes the T situation more financially palatable. You go that route, get a veteran short-term deal that can kind of steady the boat for a little bit there, and then you bring in a draft guy to replace down the road. I am reluctant though, Jeff, because even with all the success the Bengals have had over the last 3 seasons, that right tackle spot has just not been solidified, and it was somewhat solidified finally last year. And so just kind of saying, okay, bye-bye, Jonah, that makes me a little uneasy.
I would rather them sign Jonah, to be honest. But I've gotten to the point where I don't see how they could tag T and sign Jonah. That's kind of where I'm at. But again, Jonah could go out there and maybe the market is not what he thinks it's going to be, and maybe he's like, hey, Cincinnati, I might want to come back. Who knows?
Yeah, it's what happened a little bit with Orlando Brown last year.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think to your point, if we're talking doing some stuff in outside free agency, keeping T and keeping Jonah, I don't know that all that's going to be palatable.
Right.
You probably got to pick and choose. If you're going to do stuff in outside free agency, you probably got to pick and choose between T or Jonah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Make your moves from there. Yeah.
Especially along the offensive line. I mean, I think free agency, they're going to, one thing I don't want to do, like two positions we got to we got to fix. No, however we do it is the right tackle and the interior line. I love DJ Reader. I'm hoping he comes back. I don't know when he's going to come back or how he's going to be. So you can't count on him. So you got to get somebody there. And I love Devontae Sweat from Texas. I think he'd be a great second-round pick. But so I always preface this that we're really not going to know anything until we see what they do with free agency because they're going to do something. But I could see them adding in both spots, to be honest. But then if they do that, because I don't want to go into the draft going, oh, my God, we got to get a right tackle. Or, oh, my God, we got to get a defensive tackle. I'd rather have guys that are already there, and then we just can bring guys – because you got to have depth at both positions. Because we still have never – the defensive line, we've never replaced Larry Ogunjobi. So if you can get DJ Reader for, if he comes back, when he comes back, whatever, and – Sweat there and BJ Hill, and then get maybe another guy down there and have a rotation, which is what we had when we went to the Super Bowl. That'd be great. And then to get the right tackle situation hopefully set so you have, all right, this could be our right tackle of the future, but we don't have to have the pressure of you got to go and be the right tackle on a Super Bowl contending team right now.
Yeah, and thankfully, I mean, you can. There's some years that may be outliers in there, but really, I mean, you look back to like 2017, 2018, that's when the Bengals were really doing things like, we have to get a center, Billy Price, the reach, right? Mm-hmm. We have to get a running back. They got Joe Mixon. That was a hit. Good pick there. Then, a couple of years go by, then it's like, okay, 2020 hits, like, okay, we have the first pick. We have to get a quarterback and a wide receiver, so need those. But since what they have done, and it directly coincides with heavy outside free agent activity, is and draft hits, obviously, Burrow hit, Higgins hit, but outside free agent activity is they just lack the desperation, the positional desperation going into the draft. So they don't go into it going, exactly. Oh my God, if we don't get a corner in the first 2 rounds, we're screwed, right? Yep. So you want them to get certain picks, and certain picks maybe make more sense because of a perceived lack of starting star power or whatever, or some injury stuff that the guys coming back from injury, that sort of thing. But they go into it trying to feel like, man, we don't have to reach for anybody. We don't have to reach for any position. Yeah, we've got positions and guys we maybe like more than others early, but free agency has helped us eliminate that desperation going into the draft. And so that's what I think they're probably going to try and harness again this year as they go into the draft, where it's like, yeah, we want a right tackle of the future. Yeah, we want pass rush help, but we're going to make it make sense. We're not going to get desperate and move up and sacrifice all kinds of picks or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to make any like big splashes in free agency. I think it's going to be a lot of little stuff. I mean, I'm talking about big splash when we got DJ Reader. That was a big splash. But we'll get the guys that we've like Mike Hilton. That wasn't a big splash. It turned out to be tremendous for us. Chidobe Awuzie, that wasn't a big splash. But again, they played way better for us. I have a feeling that that's more of what the Bengals are going to try and do is get guys that are, I don't want to say lower tier, but guys that are there, but they have potential to be even better than they were, and that's what we've gotten from a lot of these guys that we've signed. They played like Trey Henderson. Let's go there. Like that's where we let oh crud. What was the defensive?
Carl Lawson. Do you remember how much crap?
Yes.
Do you remember how much crap Trey Hendrickson got coming to Cincinnati, where he was nothing but a cleanup artist, and he was riding the coattails of everybody else on the Saints, and he couldn't get a sack on his own. And it's like, dude has been he's been like the best free agent acquisition ever, for the Bengals. And that's been the other part aside from. And I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, but that's been the other element to it. In some more draft hits, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. But look at the free agency. Really, the misses. Trey Waynes, that was a big miss, and maybe Nick Scott this year. Who knows? Maybe he ends up playing pretty well down the stretch here.
That's two. And
BJ Hill, Trey Hendrickson, DJ Reader,
Cheetah.
I mean Cheeto, right? Hilton. Von Bell. I mean, it just boom, just contributing guy and targeting the right guys. And that's what it's going to take this year. And again, those aren't. Von Bell never made a Pro Bowl with the team or anything, but he was a heck of a good player for him.
He's a big loss.
Cheeto, the same thing. Yeah. So if you get those kind of, C and B minus-ish type of level tier guys in free agency, last year they finally splashed into the B plus A minus range in Orlando Brown. That was amazing. And Reader, I guess, would kind of be in that same realm a little bit too. But, if you can kind of hang in that C plus to B range for the most part and supplement these other positions, then you go into the draft feeling pretty good about things.
Exactly. One thing I got to ask you. So before, just to let everybody know, before you came on the show, you popped up the background and you weren't there. You're just you in your chair. So I was having an interview with your chair before you came on. But
were you?
Is your chair is it Bengal striped?
So, no.
It's not.
There's a
It
towel.
looks like. Oh!
Well, there's a towel on it.
That
like
looks.
a blanket.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude,
yeah,
that is cool. I had to ask you that
Yeah.
before I forgot. Like,
No, I so in the new, I've had to stay out of the studio / garage a little bit just because of a couple of things, but we've had a lot of rain and it's been really cold in there, so I'm like, I don't really want to do that. But there's a lot of yeah, I know. Well, nothing's like the ice cave. Nothing's like the ice cave.
How is the construction going? I mean, I haven't seen you in your old
I'll have to show it to you. We'll have you on our show, and I'll have to show it to you. It wasn't anything new built. It was actually we redid because my other stuff when I had the couch and all that stuff was in a bedroom, and finally had to sacrifice that to one of the kids. So I moved all my fun stuff. God, I know I moved all my fun stuff down to the garage, and then kind of made a little, I guess, a studio. I don't know.
So,
really,
so you're just like Dale now. You guys are both kicked out to the garage.
It's a place to put my shit. Yeah, I mean, basically, you know what I mean?
That's where Dale's at. Dale cracks me up. He'll come on in the wintertime or whatever, and he's in there freezing.
How is Dale?
Good, man. Good. He's doing good.
I haven't talked to him for a while. Give him my best.
Well, I will. Well, actually, they're on their show right now.
They are.
Yeah, they're streaming the same time I am. I don't. They got. I guess that's the only time they can go on today. But yeah, I noticed that they're on today too. So, but yeah, Dale's doing good. I'll give him your love. I know.
Are you doing well? I didn't even ask you. How are you? Are you doing well?
I'm phenomenal. Well, I mean, I got some stuff going on with my mother-in-law, but other than that, no, she's not doing so hot. So yeah, my wife. I've been batching it a lot here lately. So my wife's been going to Florida a lot. So.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, other than that, I'm fine. Yeah, no big deal.
Good.
It's okay. It happens. How you been? You good?
Good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm trying to line up some more games and other stuff coming up here. So
you got anything stoked out for next year? That you're well, actually, when you come to Cincinnati, because you didn't come to a game.
I know that's got to be the goal this year.
I know. You said you're coming last year, and you never came.
I know. I had buddies that went to the Seattle game, and then I had a wedding that I was at that weekend. So I couldn't go to that
wedding, Bengals game.
I know.
I mean, come on, AC. You got to put your priorities together.
And then I know. So yeah, I mean, there are a couple out here that I'm going to try and go to the Dallas game. I think because I want to go check out that, and that wouldn't be that big of a trek for me. And then they play in LA. They play the Chargers in LA, so I'm probably going to that one. But I'd like to identify. I might do like a Steelers or Ravens game out in Cincinnati. I feel like I need to do that. Or a primetime one. I feel like I need to do a primetime one.
Oh, dude, you should actually make sure you come if they do the white Bengal or we try to stripe the jungle again. One of those two, those are freaking awesome. Those are the funnest games.
I would love, and this has like been a dream of mine, and like this is because I'm lonely over here on the West Coast, but I would love. I always envision like going out there for like a week and doing like my dumbass show, but doing like a group shows and like getting into one of those restaurants and doing like like with the radio guys, pretend to be official and hang out with people and all that stuff. Yeah, I haven't. Because I could do that out here, and I'd be me. I'd just be, Hey,
I think
there might be that way out there too. Who knows? I mean, I don't know.
Oh no, dude, no. Everybody knows the Godfather. What are you talking about?
No,
they'd be like, "Oh my God, it's AC."
No.
But I was going to ask you. I knew I was going to ask you something there. Crap, I can't remember.
I derailed this.
It happens all the time. I get ADD. My brain goes, and I'm like, I think something goes ting, and then poof, it's gone. It just happens. All right, let's get here. Let's get some comments here. Holmes, tag T drafted as replacement in 2025. There are several 6'3", 6'4" speedy receivers we have to hit on these draft picks. Yeah, they're going to draft a wide receiver, I think, AC. Now, the other question is, are they going to actually draft a tight end? Because when I see Sam Laporta and all these other guys that we could have got and didn't get any of them.
That just had that? Who was it that just had that comment there? Holmes, I think it was.
Yep, Holmes.
So there's like three things in there, and I strongly agree with two of them.
Okay.
have to hit on the draft picks 100%, and speedy receivers. So I think the Bengals need team speed. I'm a little bit more in the mindset of let's add in who Jahmyr Gibbs was to the Lions this year a little bit, and a guy with a little bit of receiving ability as a running back. I love Chase Brown. I think Joe Mixon performed a lot better than maybe a lot of people gave him credit for or expected last year. But same guy like T, right? Just plugs along, 1,000 yards, like 12 total touchdowns, and that it's a stat line every year. But I do think this team needs speed. If you can maybe get a speedy slot guy, obviously, if you are replacing T, you want to get a big guy with some speed there, and there are guys in the draft here. Here's the element again. People are kind of still quick to dismiss T and let's move on and let's get other value elsewhere. And I understand that.
It's not as easy as it sounds.
It's not. And Burrow, T. Higgins, the reason why the Bengals, and a lot of people I think maybe forget about this, but when Burrow was coming out of the draft, he worked out with Jordan Palmer out here, like 10 minutes away from where I live, with a lot of other prospects. Do you know what one of the guys he was working out with?
Did you stop him?
I'm going to say no. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But do you know who one of the guys was that he worked out with heavily in the spring going into the draft?
I think it was T. Higgins, yeah.
Yeah, and that was a voice that I don't know how heavily the Bengals listened to him at that point with Burrow, but they knew that there was rapport built from that spring, and Burrow's like, dude, I like this guy. He's got a lot of stuff that we need for this offense, and boom, the Bengals went that way. So if they are to, I don't know if Burrow's going to continue to, he did it a year or two after he was drafted with like Josh Allen and others. If he ends up coming out here, I mean, it would maybe benefit him if the Bengals are going to look at wide receivers, be it as a T replacement or otherwise, to, have him work out with some of these rookies in this little camp thing that it's not little, this camp thing that Jordan put, the QB summit that Jordan puts on. And, maybe he can give his take on, hey, this guy does this guy does what T does. This guy's got the speed we want, et cetera.
So I remember what I wanted to ask you. All right. So the Bengals actually, by the way, I agree with what you're saying. I'm not trying to change the subject. I just remember what I was going to say. The Bengals added to their coaching staff. They moved up Ragnow to he's the quarterback's coach, and they added a passing coordinator. And I cannot remember where I heard this. Maybe it's you guys. You and John said this. But what Callahan did well was break down defenses, blitzes, and put stuff on the blackboard, I guess, or whatever. That I guess pitcher might not be as good at that or hasn't done it before. I'm not exactly sure how it was said, but they added this guy for the passing coordinating game. That I think is interesting because I think it's more of if they play as good as I think they're going to do, Dan Pitcher might be a head coach next year, and they got their other OC right lined up. What's your thoughts on that?
So Cragthorpe was the guy who replaced Pitcher, and he's been on the offensive staff and now is on the quarterback's coach. Yep. Pitcher, of course, moved in for Callahan, and it's Justin Riscotti who came in and is the passing game coordinator. So there's a couple things. I don't want to be Mr. Yacky here, but I just want to say a couple things.
Hey, I think it's a talk show, so it's okay. You're allowed to talk.
Okay. I can gab. Okay.
I'll just sit back and relax. Go ahead.
No. I won't be that. I won't be that long-winded. But it just the internal pitcher to replace Callahan and Cragthorpe to replace pitcher it makes a lot of sense. And it's just, hey, let's keep this semblance of let's keep the band together, let's keep the development going, that sort of thing. And on the defensive side of the ball as well, when they promoted Kovacs for Livingston, same kind of deal. And I think it's a pivotal. I think it's a pivotal move because it's the secondary safeties coach, and they've got some work to do at safety. And I think there's a lot to like with Jordan Battle and what he showed, particularly towards the end of the year when he got more time. So I think he's going to be a really good player for them. The Bengals got to figure out what suits Dax Hill best and what he can do going forward. He's got a ton of athleticism.
He needs to talk louder, I heard.
Yeah, there's ups and there's downs there. Of course, we mentioned Nick Scott. So I think in a lot of ways, the internal promotions make a lot of sense. When you look at the promotion of Riscotti, go back and look at where Zach Taylor came from under McVay and how McVay had that 6 years ago, how he had that system put together. Now McVay was kind of de facto OC, play caller, that sort of thing. But he had distinct run game coordinator, passing game coordinator, position coaches, that sort of thing. And Shane Waldron, the guy who interviewed for the Bengals job with Zach, was the passing game coordinator at the time. So Zach learned this kind of setup and pushed for it likely with the Bengals organization, because now he's got the biggest staff ever, that the coaching staff that the Bengals have ever had. And I think this is a really smart move.
Yeah, take that. Who think the Bengals are cheap still? We got the biggest coaching staff now.
Yeah. I just think this is a really smart move, especially, I think a lot of us think pitcher will do well. I think there's a lot of potential there for a high quality offensive coordinator, but it's his first time doing it.
Yeah.
And so when you have that, they've always utilized this brain trust. They've always utilized a lot of smart people in the room. As an assistant offensive line coach, I think Riscotti was with the Vikings. He's done a lot of good things with that offensive line. And look back to the Vikings and what they were able to achieve from a quarterback standpoint when that position was a total wreck last year. Mm-hmm. Cousins left, and he was playing pretty well, got hurt, left. Joshua Dobbs was like the player of the month when he played, right?
He had to beat his teammates on the field.
Yeah, and then he ended up kind of struggling. And then Mullins comes in and plays pretty well down the stretch for them as well. I don't know how big of a direct hand Riscotti had in that, but obviously he was a part of it. So, I think as the Bengals want to do more under center, as they want to be more effective in the passing game, maybe more effective in play action, all of that, I think bringing another voice, another set of eyes and ears to that could only help. So, and he's got a track record of at least somewhat of being successful with the Vikings.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I like all of it.
Was that too long? I don't know if was that too long?
Oh, that was fun. No, kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's great. No, I agree with everything you're saying there, dude. I'm like, that's kind of like, that's the way the new quote unquote NFL is going. Is you have a run game coordinator, you have a passing game coordinator, you have all these, interlocked things that it's specifically you just do this, and it help. I think it's going to help because that guy, all he's going to do is figure out how to beat the team on Sunday for the passing game. Then you got to figure out how to beat him on the running. It's not just offense coordinator trying to figure out everything. Like, all right, what do you got? I got this. I got that. Like, pitcher was the third down coach last year, basically. He put the third down plays in.
Yeah.
So it's like all this stuff comes together. And on Sunday, not Sunday, but, Thursday or when they do the game install, that's when they all mix and match it all together and figure out what they're going to do. The more information you got, the better, I think. I always say that.
Yeah, to an extent. I think sometimes too many voices or too many cooks in the kitchen or whatever can kind of get things a little messy. But I think there are elements, to your point, I think there are elements that the Bengals really need to shore up and clean up. And I think they put a lot of that on, Burrow wasn't hurt for most of the year. And I think there's definitely merit to that. But there were still there still has been some issues, offensive line, play action, all this kind of screen game at times. So I think having someone, and look at that Vikings offensive line. My co-host John Sheeran talked about the development of a lot of the guys there, the athletic profiles of a lot of the guys there. And so I think they looked at that. They saw what the Vikings were doing in that game against the Bengals, and they're like, hey, this might be a bright young mind to add to this staff.
Right. And I guess what I meant was more information. You still have – I agree. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. You have all the information, but there's one guy in charge, and they figure it out that way. And I still believe that. But now – one thing I'll say about this with the offense, and the best the offense looked for me the whole season was against the 49ers. You were at that game. We kicked their ass. That game was over from Jump Street, and it was a lot of under center, a lot of play action, ran the ball a lot. My question all the time, I'm not necessarily asking you the question because I don't think you're probably wondering the same thing I am. Where'd that offense go? When Joe was there, because I know when Jake took over, they had to change it all up. But when Joe was there, like in the Texas game, we did a lot of shotgun and drop back and stuff we were doing before that wasn't really working as well. But when we were in the 49ers game, it was under center, running the ball, play action, stuff like that. It's like I didn't understand. There wasn't consistency. It seemed like we found something that worked, and then we went back to what we were doing before. It's like, why? This worked. Why didn't we stick with that? Did you find that with the offense this year?
I did. I think there are some dynamics at play, and I can't remember totally offhand, but I think the Bengals were either tied or behind, or they kept having to one up the Texans a lot. So the play calling was a lot more pass driven, a lot more longer pass driven. They were getting absolutely killed by Sheldon Rankins up the middle in that game. He had 3 sacks in that game.
That was a game DJ Reader got hurt in too, I think. Pretty sure.
Reader got hurt against the Vikings.
The Vikings.
I
Okay,
think.
so
yeah, but he might have got hurt I don't remember if he got hurt for a little bit and came back.
I do remember we got ran up the middle. Because I remember them running toward me. I'm going, oh my god. And
yeah. So I think that may have had a hand in it. Whereas, like you said, the Bengals kind of asserted early control in the Niners game, and so they were able to more ably sell play action and runs, etc. I will say also the Bengals, for some reason against the Niners, their offensive line and the pass protection held up really, really well against guys like Bosa and others, where you're going, wow, it just kind of was an unexpected thing. And I think the Bengals were getting totally red hot at the right time, and the Niners hit a really cold patch at the right time as well. If you remember, not to discredit the win from the Bengals. I just think there was a really good timing as to that. But like you said, the Bengals were dominant throughout that entire game. And I'm sitting here with a buddy of mine who's a Niners guy, and I'm going, this really isn't even that close. This is I was kind of stunned. Yeah, I was kind of stunned about it. But so. And again, I think also Joe's preference a lot of times is to be in shotgun and survey the field before just to kind of do his pre-snap reads. But I mean, I think we have seen that this team can operate at a high level, being a little bit more balanced and utilizing play action. And they showed that with Browning. They showed it at times with Burrow this year. And I think they want to get back to that. And they should. I think they should get back to that because Burrow can't keep sustaining these injuries. The team can't continue its success without him in the lineup. And I know we're only talking really 2 fluke things, but it's twice out of 4 seasons so far. Yeah, I mean, it's too many.
That's the thing is Burrow needs to – I know he says I'd rather sometimes take a sack instead of trying to throw the ball away or possibly an interception or whatever, especially just on third down. Doesn't matter. We're going to punt it anyway. I don't want him getting hit. I mean, those are the things I wish he'd get out of his head. Don't get hit. Throw the ball away. Get rid of it, because you don't need to take any extra hits because those extra hits – could eventually something breaks. That's what happened to him. The 2 years that he's gotten after the year.
Well, I think he's used to a little bit of just playing Houdini because that's what he does, and he has shown he can take hits and bounce off it and spin out of them and make a play. He did it at LSU. He's done it a ton in the pros, but I mean the guys are bigger and faster in the pros. I mean that's just kind of part of the deal. I think he does. Yeah, I think again, kind of working some rollout, some play action, all that kind of stuff to get him away from pressure. I think that can help him. And then, of course, him being, instead of taking the sack, we definitely don't want him throwing the ball into harm's way just to get rid of the ball and causing a turnover, but throwing it out of bounds and live to play another down. I know that's not in his DNA, but if he does it just a little bit more, maybe we can avoid these kinds of things that we saw against Baltimore.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we talk about the Houdini act. The best one was in that 49ers game. The pass protection was great, but that one where he slipped out of Bosa and ran to the side and threw it,
that was great.
I don't remember if it was Chase or T caught it, and I'm just like, holy bleep.
That one and the 21 AFC Championship game against the Chiefs where Chris Jones had him like twice.
Yes.
And he ended up scrambling and running for a first down on the left sideline. Those are the 2 plays. I'm like, how the hell did that happen?
I know. That's jackpot being jackpot, man. That's the only thing I can say. I mean, that's what cracks me up is people people are starting to forget that Joe could do this. I remember the other thing I want to say. All right, did you see? We're getting close to an hour here, but did you see the viral video of this douchebag? I don't know who he is on TikTok or whatever, talking about Joe Burrow is overrated and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen have surpassed him. And I know Kay Adams asked Teddy K on her show about this, and I'm like, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen haven't won to a Super Bowl. They haven't even made it. They haven't won an AFC Championship game. Burrow's done that. I'm like, until you do that, then come talk to me. Because, look, I was giving Lamar Jackson all the credit in the world. I thought he had a really good year. I agree. I think he should have been the MVP. But, dude, he laid an egg. He played awful in that playoff game against the Chiefs. Josh Allen, I can't say he played awful. He played good. But he, for some reason, just can't beat them. But I just feel that people are forgetting about Joe. And people are calling him Glass Joe, and he's always injured. Like, he's not always injured. Like, literally, he missed his rookie year after his knee injury, and he missed this season. But other than that, he's played every game. He hasn't missed that many games other than two major fluke injuries.
Yeah. A lot to unpack there. I mean, I think also people look at, the calf earlier this year, and then what was obviously he had the appendix, and then didn't he have he had something else. I can't remember what it was.
The appendectomy, the calf, and now the wrist.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a narrative there, but I think, unfortunately, on the Bengals side of things, this is a little bit of, in terms of slighting Joe for his injuries, we're getting a little bit of the taste of Lamar, right? Where, Lamar, everyone agreed that Lamar is incredible, but in 21 and 22, he wasn't really healthy, right? He missed a lot of time in both of those seasons, and the Ravens still made the playoffs in 22 without him being fully healthy. And so, I think we're unfortunately getting a little taste of that. Not that Bengals fans really were saying Lamar isn't that good. I think we all know Lamar's very good. Yeah. But I mean, this is the only thing I can really hope for is when Joe had a catastrophic injury, a season-ending injury last time. What did he do? He rehabbed like hell, came back, and took the team to the Super Bowl. And this is the kind of stuff that feeds the psyche, the emotions of Joe Burrow. And I don't know how much he listens to this kind of crap from, a bunch of numbnuts on TikTok or wherever.
Right.
I don't know how much he pays attention to that, but he knows that there's chatter about injury prone and maybe, Godfather can't win the big one, whatever, all this kind of stuff. And that's just being who he is. This is the kind of stuff you hope that just kind of fuels what becomes a legacy for him.
Exactly. Dude, honestly, you're starting to say that. I'm getting goosebumps. I'm going, keep talking. Because I can just hear Joe. I can just feel Joe going, all right, you think they're better than me. Okay, we'll see. All right, we'll see. Jamar's the same way, but those two are like, all right, yeah, we'll see.
I know it's a what could have been, but I really, really wonder what this team would have done had he stayed healthy this year. And I don't know that they would have gone to the Super Bowl. They had a real big problem getting past the Ravens. I know the Chiefs went on a run here. They still, for some reason to me, just aren't overly impressive. They've had the Bengals have had the Bills number. So if they face them in the postseason, who knows? The Bengals have had trouble with the Steelers. And if the Steelers ended up I don't know, but I really am curious based on how hot the team got. Yeah, they hit a buzzsaw on the Texans, who ended up being a very good team, by the way.
Right.
I am curious to just in my own mind's eye, how far would this team have gone specifically had Burrow been healthy the rest of the year? Because they hit that hot streak in the middle there with that Niners game, the Bills game, etc.
Yeah, I always, dude, honestly, the way they were playing in that 4-game winning streak, I thought they were going to win the rest of them, to be honest, the way they're playing. But looking back on it, the way the most inconsistent part of this team all year, with or without injuries, was the defense. And that's the part that I think would have held us back from getting, all honesty, to getting. I think we could have won maybe 1-2 playoff games. Who knows? Maybe we could have won the whole thing. I don't know. But I mean, that's the thing that we didn't have that we had the 2 years before that when we went to the Super Bowl, the AFC Championship, was our consistent defense, and we didn't have that this year. So that's the part where I'm like,
it's imperative that the Bengals find a way to get more interior pressure.
Yes.
I think when you face a Mahomes and Allen, a Jackson, having the edge pressure of Trey Hendrickson, and he'll get his every once in a while against those guys, that helps. But those guys can get away from edge guys. It's when that pressure comes in their face plus outside, that's when there's problems. And you've seen even the best of the best get stifled because of that. So if the Bengals can find, and I like BJ Hill, but when the Bengals defense was at its best, it was Larry O and BJ in the middle there, along with Reader. And so if the Bengals can find that formula somehow again, I think they'll be in good shape.
And one thing I'll say is, if Miles Murphy develops the way I think he is, I think Sam Hubbard's going to be kicked inside a lot more. Not like totally on the inside, but I think he's going to get more on the inside than he has too. Which I think that bodes well for just different looks that you can give the defense, those quarterbacks there, kick him inside. And we got to get some snaps off Trey, too, because Trey and Sam, these guys.
And Sam, yes.
Yeah,
I was just going to say
they both go, so hard, so need snaps off the, that's where you need the rotation, which is where I was kind of hoped was going to happen this year. I thought Miles Murphy would come in and help, which, don't get me wrong, this is not hate on Miles Murphy. I think he developed slower than I think we thought he would. I think he's going to be good. The one that surprised me the most was Joseph Osai. AC, I thought he was really going to come in and have a really good season. He couldn't get on the field, and I was talking to Richard Skinner, and he said, every time they talked a little about it, he's like, oh, he's still injured. I'm like, what the hell is he injured from? He has a sprained ankle. And then Jay Morrison reminded me that he had that shoulder injury, and I forgot about that. So he had that and the ankle. So hopefully, I'm going to take it that Lou wasn't blowing smoke, that he was hurt, and that's the reason he was having a hard time getting on the field. Hopefully, he gets this whole offseason to recover and come back fully healthy and doesn't get hurt in the preseason game, because he's one who keeps getting hurt in preseason games. If you can get him, Miles Murphy, Sam, and Trey in a rotation on the outside, that's your rotation there for the outside. Then you just got to fix the inside. So that's what I'm hoping will happen.
Yeah,
but like I said,
I'm in agreement there. Yeah, that was one of my breakout guys too this year. I thought he was going to do something, but didn't come to fruition, unfortunately.
Not at all. AC, man, you've been on for an hour. I appreciate you. That's why I call you the Godfather. You're my dude. Hey, do me a favor. Go plug something. Go tell everybody to go watch the show because you were on earlier today.
Yeah, we Orange and Black Insiders, the show. We're on YouTube. I got to up my visual game here and my sponsor game. Every time I come on your show, and I got 0 sponsors. It's just my ugly face and just yak. So I gotta up the aesthetics and all kinds of stuff on my show. But yeah, Orange and Black Insider, we're part of the Cincy Jungle podcast network, so go check that out. We did have Ken Anderson on earlier this week, so that was pretty cool. Nice treat to have him on. We almost had another special guest on today, but couldn't make it work. But we're going to try and get a few more of those, and doing a lot of free agency draft, all that kind of stuff coming up. We may, whether it's from our show specifically or Cincy Jungle, we may have some people directly at the combine. We're working on having some credentials for that, so we may have some live reports from that. Yeah, so that'll be kind of cool, and we'll let people know about that. Just kind of some interviews and hopefully live reports and stuff from there. But yeah, just doing our thing and trying to be as cool as you all. You and Bengals and Brews and all the good ones.
You are the creator of cool. You are the Godfather. I mean, come on now.
Nah. Hey, by the way, in my show, if you want to laugh, in the middle of my show, there was an earthquake. So I was like, there was a small earthquake out here. Yeah, it wasn't a big one, but you'll see me kind of like, oh, what the hell's going on here? John's talking. So if you want a good laugh, it's about midway through the show. You can at least watch me freak out about that. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I've been through one earthquake once in my entire life. It wasn't in Ohio. It was ironically out in California, and I slept through most of it. So, but yeah, that was.
Yeah, you could. They're pretty easy to do that. There are a few that are kind of scary, but for the most part, they're minor.
Yeah, I remember we had tremors afterwards. We were walking somewhere, and this building had glass, and it wasn't like you feel the tremors, but the glass going. I'm like, holy crap! And it didn't feel like it was shaking it that much. But I'm like, yeah, I'll never forget that. But I like Ohio. We don't have earthquakes. We don't have to worry about that. We have cold. AC, appreciate it, brother.
Hey, you're the man. Let's do it again soon. We'll get you on our show too, and especially with free agency and the draft, we'll have some fun, do some roundtable stuff or something.
Hell yeah, dude. Hit me up.
All right. Take care.
Later. All right, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. AC is an awesome dude. Go check him and John out. Orange and Black Insider Podcast, Cincy Jungle, all that cool stuff. All right. So, people have been asking Super Bowl predictions. I hate this part because, one, I don't want either team to win. All right, I'll go from this way. I want the Sucky Niners to win. I don't think I could take it. I could take it, but it's gonna suck really bad if the Chiefs win. And oh my God, Patrick Mahomes is one of his third one. Blah, blah, blah. Which, don't get me wrong, Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback. He's the best quarterback in the league. I get all that. I understand. I'm not denying that. And at first, beginning of the week, I'm like, oh, dude, it's gonna be the Chiefs. It's gonna be the Chiefs. It's gonna be the Chiefs. But now, honestly, dude, I don't know. I think it might be the Sucky Niners. But it's going to be a close game. I really do think it's going to be a close game. I just think because, yeah, the Sucky Niners are favored by 2. It's not really favored and can't see, oh, we're the underdogs. You're underdog by 2 points. That's not even really an underdog. But if Christian McCaffrey goes off like I think he's going to, because I don't think the Chiefs have anybody that can cover him. If they get Debo going out of the backfield and doing the stuff they do with Debo, I don't think anybody can cover him. If the 49ers defense plays like I think they can, then they can shut Patrick down like we did. They've got all pros on almost every level of that freaking team. They should win. But on the other hand, then you have Patrick Mahomes, who has won 2 of these already, and he does Patrick Mahomes things, and you got Travis Kelce, catching 10 balls, and Taylor Swift's in the stands, and it's gonna be so great, and if it's scripted in the NFL, hey, it'll be great, all the Swifties had their favorite football player, now Travis Kelce win. I don't know. I'm putting it to you this way. I can't do it. I still think the Chiefs are going to win. I want to pick the 49ers. I still think the Chiefs are going to win. I got 27-24 Chiefs. We'll see how close I am. I'm writing it down so I remember. But enjoy the Super Bowl. I know it's going to suck for us just because of 2 teams. Go enjoy the Super Bowl. Go get you some Midwest best barbecue and some chicken wing stuff. Have a good time. Enjoy your friend. Enjoy your family. Because after this, football is over, until September. Well, we got mini camps and all that stuff, and I'll still be covering it. But we got the Reds coming here soon. Which, by the way, if you guys have not checked it out, I have a Patreon channel that I just started. And I have my first interview on there through John Sadak. From John Sadak. With John Sadak, however you want to say it. John Sadak, the Reds broadcaster. So the Patreon link is out on my Twitter, my Facebook, all that stuff. It's only $3 a month. I'm going to put some more stuff on there. It's just something I'm trying to see if anybody's interested in doing, because I know other people have done stuff through Patreon. I'm still going to keep doing the YouTube channel. This isn't going anywhere. This is my bread and butter. Like I said, I enjoy the hell out of doing this. It's opened up so many doors. We got some really cool stuff coming up this summer. Next week, I got one confirmed guest. I know a week from tonight, Buck Farmer, Cincinnati Reds relief pitcher, is going to be there. And I got another one that I'm this close up to confirming for Thursday. But I can't say it yet because I haven't heard if he's actually confirmed he's going to be on or not. But make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Make sure you are following me on everything. Thanks for watching. Shout out to everybody who's watching on CTV, YouTube, Facebook, X, Rumble. And if you're checking out the podcast on BeanPod, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcast, please make sure you rate, like, and review. You can follow me on all of those, along with Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. You guys have a wonderful weekend. I will see you back here on Monday. Ready? Throw it up. And that's your sports, baby. See ya!